Please welcome to the stage Complete College America's Chief of Staff and Senior Vice President for Strategy, Dr. Dhanfu Elston.
Hello, 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 hello. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you have had an amazing couple of days learning with your colleagues and getting to know other individuals who are these impatient reformers. As I mentioned at the very beginning, there are not a lot of folks that are like us. You know, we are the individuals that are constantly looking at the problems and coming up with resolutions and solutions. I'm excited because we get a chance to talk and continue this theme of next and what's next in higher education broadly. Quick show of hands, and this is a non-judgment zone, so I can see you. They took the lights up so we can see the group a little bit more. But how many of you are using AI, generative AI, on a consistent basis? Okay, somewhat. All right. How many? Let's now kind of quantify it a little bit more. On a scale of 1 to 4, or 0 to 4. 0 being, I am not doing anything with this yet, and 4 being, like, my institution is rolling, I'm using it personally on a lot of things. How many 4s do we have? Okay, a handful of the room, maybe about 10%. How many 0s? Okay, all right, I appreciate the honesty. There are a lot more 0s out there than 4s. Well, that's exciting because this is one of the things we continue to talk about is the importance of being able to get involved and actually touch and experience it. We've had a resource table out front where individuals have had the opportunity to engage with AI. And we thought it would be fun to be able to really engage in it in a way that shows people how you can use this as a tool for learning and a tool for student success. So I've got 2 colleagues, 2 CCA Fellows who are going to join me on the stage. So I'm going to bring up to the stage Nicola Blake and James McCoy. Nicola's at the CUNY system. James is at the College of Southern Nevada. And we are going to do something that is not the norm for some of these types of events. We're actually going to do something a little different. And we're going to have an AI battle. Because, yeah, absolutely. So these gracious volunteers have agreed to serve as test cases for a particular AI prompt. So for individuals who are out there and you are kind of closer to the 0 than the 4, this will give you a real idea in real time of what it might be like if you were trying to think through a problem or something that you wanted to resolve within your institution, get an idea or anything like that. Does that sound right? Okay. All right. So what we are going to do is, now that you guys are set up, you're good to go, we're going to share the screens in just a moment. And let me just tell you really quick, this is the question or what you are attempting to create. And they don't know this. We did not prepare them, so this is the first time they're hearing it. So you are creating the ultimate student success center of the future.
Ultimate student success center.
The ultimate student success center of the future. All right. What do you think they should include in there? Because this is this side of the room, you're going to be Team Nicola, and this is going to be Team James. All right? All right. Call it out to me. What should they include in their kind of notes that they're putting in? Someone said institution. Somebody said student voice. Oh, human advisors over here on this side. What else? Okay, so let's see what Nicola's starting to kind of put in. She is starting off with, I am a VP of Student Affairs and Academic Affairs. You are a graphic designer and expert in student success. So she's early in the process, but she's framing out who she is so that the ultimate kind of response will be based on her particular role, and now she's already kind of centered that she wants something to do with higher education. It also seems like she is starting off saying that she wants to create something graphically. So she's looking to create a picture. All right, let's see what is over here on the James side. We've got James saying, please create an image of the ultimate student success center of the future. All right, he jumped straight into it. All right, please contextualize this image as a center at a very diverse community college. So he went with specificity there. Please use unique lighting to focus on students learning alongside their mentors that guided them. Please use a wide-angle lens and be sure to create a realistic image. The image should be a student success center that would be a college in the year 2030.
Go!
All right. So he has clicked go on his. Nicola's adding a little bit more in on hers. She says it must be tech-rich and inclusive of student needs. Think about what a center for student success would look like in 20 years. Include images of diverse students. Now she's cheating. All right. We're gonna give you, come on, 15 more seconds.
Is it not doing it?
We'll give you 15 more seconds for now.
Where is it?
It's there. It's loading. All right.
They gave me
Oh.
a slow computer.
All right, while we're waiting on these to kind of pop up, what else should we add? What else do you think is missing from these conversations based on the prompts that we have? Someone from this side. What else is missing out there? Yes?
Microphone. The features included in the student center of the future.
Oh, the features. Okay. Like what specifically? Like what kind of things would need to be there?
A lounge area.
A lounge. Okay.
24/7.
24/7, the amount of time. Okay. Somebody said food? It's not a student success center unless you got some pizza somewhere, right? Okay. What about on this side? What do we have? It's all good. The cost. The cost to build it or the cost for the students to utilize it? Okay, both, all of the above. You said clarifying questions. Okay, like what? Okay, ask the system clarifying questions. So there are a couple things that are starting to kind of come together. I am very interested, and I think Jamia is out there in the audience. What are the other things that if you were designing, so you're king or queen for a day, somebody just gave you $1 billion, they cashed in their Amazon stock, and they said you can build this student success center. What else is in your head as you're designing it? Who needs to be included in that process? What else is needed? Just walk down the aisle and you will see some hands.
I see a hand in the back. I'm coming to you.
Oh, it's okay. This is like real life technology. This is what it ends up looking like. Sometimes the technology will give us a little bit of a hiccup, but that's okay. Oh, I think something already popped up on the screen.
All right, we have our first comments. Go ahead.
All right, I hear the first comment. Go for it.
I was just going to say it's important to define what you mean by student success.
Okay.
And we have a second comment.
Got it?
Accessibility in all the ways.
Okay, got accessibility. Anybody else out there? Because me, I can't see you, but tell me if you got another hand or someone has a comment.
No hands yet.
Okay,
Here we go. One more.
No, I got you. So we're
It's
still working on
centrally-
this. So what popped up on Team James's side is at least a room that looks like a building. It has student success. There's some sun coming in. People are in front of a computer, and the folks on there look a little aged. I'm just saying. I mean, that one guy on the left looks a little like Michael Jordan. Everybody has a book, so I guess they're learning something. Good job. All right, so while he is...
We have another comment from the
Okay,
audience.
I hear another comment. Go for it.
LEED certified, so sustainability, and also centrally located.
Centrally located, and is it LED certified? LEED certified for accessibility. For environmentals? Okay, got you. All right, so let's continue to look at what's popping up as we continue to see. So James is going hard in the paint, like you just don't know how fast he's clicking that thing right now.
Faculty having office hours there?
Okay, got you. Scroll the screen down a little bit for me so I can see what that says. Okay, it says, this is nice. This is James's response. This is nice, but please add some images to this image that brings accessibility attributes. I want this image to show some more teaching and learning. Please show a more classroom-like setting. I want the students to be of diverse ages as well. Make it clear that this is a student success center at the College of Southern Nevada. So he went very specific for his institution. All right, Nicola.
I have no image.
It's all right, it's coming. But let's talk about what you added to the prompt based on what you heard from the audience.
I'm hoping to see 24/7 food, floating desks, some humanoids helping students. Someone said office hours with faculty in there. Oh, there are people, thank God. Here we are.
Oh, yeah, don't worry. It happens. Sometimes this is what the process is like. It might take a minute to create an image, but okay, some stuff popped up. So let me look at your image real quick. All right, very futuristic. I see that these students have backpacks. They're using like some kind of control tablet. Definitely a 21st century and beyond approach. All right, we've got a couple minutes left. How about
we have more comments?
All right, let's get a couple more comments. And
One
folks,
stop
you probably
shop
got about
for students.
Hold on,
like
pause.
a one hub.
Hold on, pause 1 quick second. You probably have about maybe 15 more seconds to enter your last prompt. Please, in the audience.
A one-stop student hub.
One-stop student hub, okay.
The image I'm getting is a place where people come probably where they're in trouble and possibly a relatively small fraction of the student body. When I heard the term Student Success Center, I was thinking of a coordinating office near the president's office and the provost's that was in charge of trying to coordinate efforts and rally resources for efforts systematically across the institution.
Okay.
To improve student success.
Gotcha. So one-stop shop type of approach, the individuals who may be in need. Let's see what is starting to pop up on the screen over here as we have wrapped up that last one. Let's see, has it changed yet? Okay, yeah, there's a logo up. I didn't catch that. This is kind of like one of those Where's Waldo kind of things where new stuff is popping up. So the College of Southern Nevada is now listed there. Let's see what else happens over here.
Next year, I want a fast computer with internet connection.
That's okay.
There will be a rematch next year.
Let me, while it continues to load, let me ask a quick question of each of you. So when you got the prompt or the idea that was in front of you, how did you approach making that decision, about what you were going to write initially? I'll start here.
Setting the context. So I knew that we had to set the context and figure out what we needed to put in it. And diversity is really, really important, for CUNY. So I wanted to make sure that it was representative of whatever image we decided to project.
Okay. James.
I needed to make sure that I was very direct in being in charge of what I wanted the original image to be, and then provide some stylistic cues, some setting and context cues, and mostly to listen to these impatient reformers to help guide some additional adjectives that would help refine the iterative image.
Folks, can we give it up for Team James? And Team Nicola. Once again. You guys can go ahead and slide on off. And so while we're doing this, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask a couple of my colleagues from Complete College America to come. They're going to actually move these tables off the stage. But while you're still out, the person who has the microphone, the question for an audience member or two is, if you're still fairly new to this process, what did you take away from this first iteration of creating that image by the two different individuals that were up there? So if you're new to this and you're like, you know, all this prompts and all this other stuff that people talk about, what did you take away from that as a learning item for yourself?
So Mel Foster, Morehouse College, Associate Provost for Academic Success, and faculty member of 29 years. So for someone who's steeped in the liberal arts tradition, what I saw occurring was there was a good bit of some critical thinking happening here and creative problem solving.
Absolutely.
I suppose the thing that I did not suspect that was what I was going to see, or I anticipate that. And so what it's making me think now is there a way for a student to capture that, to reflect that as work for their professor? Because I think bearing witness to the process of how they're developing the product is the part that we're most interested in, so that we can actually assess what they're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is definitely an iterative process. As I mentioned at the very beginning, the only way you get better at this is through more reps. And so being able to just start off with small types of things, everybody talks about how they've created an image. Next thing you know, they're adding new content, they're adding new ideas. And it doesn't just, think about, we only had 5 or 6 minutes to do this. But in real life, you might end up going through 8 or 9 or 10 prompts, or I don't know, 6, 7 of them. Nonetheless, Nicholas, that was for you. Anybody else? Any takeaway on how you can and should use this? Jamia, tell me if you had anybody with hands up.
No hands up, but we've set up 2 microphones in the center aisles if someone wants to come forward.
Okay, that's fine.
No hands up, we're good to go.
Not a problem. Well, once again, please thank all the participants and for all their processes. I also just want to give a special shout out to our colleagues at T3 Advisory who have helped us kind of come up with some of these ideas. We thought it might be a good and fun way for individuals just to see what the opportunities are in front of us and how it can continue to amplify and accelerate student success. And keeping consistent with our conversation, I'm going to go ahead and introduce one of the students that's been working with us behind the scenes. Now that our tables are gone, I'd like to introduce Jadison Miller. He's a recent graduate of Frostburg State University. Yes. And he was also a Complete College America summer intern. So please welcome to the stage, Jadison Miller.
Wow. In Gen Z terms, that music was fire. Nice, yeah. Really quickly, I just want to give a shout out to Complete College America and T3 for letting me work with them. I intern with Complete College America as the communications intern, and it's been a blessing. I was out at the T3 table today, so hopefully you were able to come and ask me some questions, and I gave you some good feedback, good answers. But hi everyone, my name is Jadison Miller. I'm a current graduate student at Frostburg State University, and I'm preparing to graduate with a master's in applied computer science. As we've seen throughout the conference, I use AI on a daily basis, and it continues to expand into new areas of work and evolve in what it's capable of. I am a computer scientist, so it's become a valuable resource throughout my educational journey. When I'm up late studying for an exam or I'm troubleshooting code in the middle of the night, AI is there as a tool that I can rely on to answer questions, explain concepts, or help identify errors, of course. It's always important, though, to seek our professors whenever possible, but they're not always available at 2 a.m. That's when I thrive, that's when I'm up. And that's when AI also shines, because it's a 24/7 learning companion that supports students when other resources aren't available. I also want to share what earning my degree means to me, because all of you have helped in a way towards that, and your work is very valuable, especially in an age where many people question the value of higher education. My dad once told me, and it stuck with me, once you have your degree, no one can take it away from you, and he's completely right. In exchange for a few years of dedication and learning, you gain something that is permanent, knowledge that doesn't expire, it can't be taken away, and it doesn't need renewed, it doesn't go bad. And that idea has driven me to pursue my master's degree in a world where technology changes daily, and things become outdated, education remains timeless. So I really appreciate all your time, and thank you so much.
Please welcome to the stage Professor and immediate past president at the University of Texas at Arlington, CCA Board Vice Chair and CCA Fellow, Dr. Vistas Karbari, along with today's panelists.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And welcome to what I believe will be the most forward-looking session and the most exciting one of this entire convening.
Yeah.
We're here today to explore something that's critical. How can AI be a transformative agent in accelerating student completion and creating pathways to socioeconomic mobility, which is at the heart of Complete College America's mission? This isn't a conversation about whether AI will change higher education. It's already there. It's in our classrooms, it's in our laboratories, it's in our administrative suites. Our platforms can act as tutors, study buddies, even teachers. We're using it in terms of analytics. We're using it to redefine what it means to be effective and efficient. We're enhancing engagement and interactions. But today, we're going to focus on a very specific topic. How does AI support, not replace, not supplant, but how does it support, enhance, and further engage the talent that we already have, the dedication that we have all in this room and outside, in ensuring that we best serve the interests of our students? We have 5 exceptional panelists over here. Each of them has delved deep into AI, from the genesis of AI to how it is used in the classroom, to how it can be used to bring people together, and how it can be used to prepare our students for the workforce. So I'm not going to try to introduce them. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. But I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves with a very specific question. We know that AI can be transformative in the lives of our students. From CCA's perspective, our focus is to getting more students across that completion line, and across the completion line with socioeconomic mobility. So for each of the panelists here, from your perspective, personal, and for the institutions and the organizations you represent, how is AI already doing it? How are you adding to this? And how will it add to the completion agenda? Let's start with Mara.
Good morning, everyone. Mara Woody. Before this week, I actually thought I knew what I was going to talk about, and I've had some incredible conversations this week. My mind is swirling, so buckle up. You're all in for a wild ride this morning. I want to say, so first, Mara Woody, I work with Ripen. We are a project-based experiential learning company. The easiest way to explain what we do is we provide micro-internships that allow more flexibility for learners who have lives outside the classroom to be able to engage in those opportunities that experiential learning creates. Authentic, meaningful, with employers, building professional networks, social capital, and applying their knowledge. Our mission is to eliminate underemployment, and we believe that to do that, we really have to partner very intentionally with our educational partners in creating those experiences and those transformative journeys for learners everywhere. And so just the different ways that I have seen AI start the transformation and the direction I see that going is there are a lot of different ways we can break that up. The first one that a lot of us talk about, and actually the program we developed with CCA, is around how do we prepare learners to use AI, to use it ethically, responsibly, correctly, appropriately in today's world. And so that's bringing that AI application into the classroom. We already know that 66% of employers today want individuals with AI skills. And so it is important that we prepare our individuals with those skills for those workforce outcomes, as we talk about completion and outcomes. But then also that ability to apply what we're learning in the classroom. In many cases, that is what can motivate learners to continue when the days are hard, to continue when the car breaks down, when they're struggling to figure out how am I going to provide for my children tonight, what are we going to eat for dinner, I know, because I'm doing this real work in my journey, in my educational journey, I know that this is the job that's waiting for me at the end, and I'm going to stay focused and keep this at the priority, even when life is trying to do everything it can to stop me. So it's important that we have these opportunities to allow students to apply what they're learning in the classroom, to engage with the industries that they're going to move into, so then they can see themselves in that world, and that becomes the reality for them. So there's that transformative effort with students just learning to utilize AI for outcomes in workforce, but then also that student success journey, the completion, the retention. But then there's also a lot of talk right now about how does AI support or not support or help student teaching and learning. And so what I have learned this week, in technology, we tend to be all in on tech, we love it, but what I learned this week is there's a lot we don't know, and a lot we still need to untangle and figure out and study and understand. And Stephanie's going to speak to that a lot more effectively than I do, but that's just something that now I'm a lot more aware of, is we are all doing lots of things, tons of things in this room that are already happening that nobody knows about. We may not even be studying it really deeply. We have anecdotes of student success stories, but how well do we understand not only the outcomes of these AI interventions we're using, but the effects? Because there's student success, there's student completion, there's workforce outcomes, but then there's mental health, there's well-being. How is this interaction with AI? How are we using it for good and to support both the outcomes and the effects on our learners? And then what I really work in, another area of AI transformation, throughout my career, really focus on that non-sexy work of infrastructure, business process, the things people don't want to really talk about or even do because they're manual, they're boring, and they take a lot of time that none of us really like to spend doing. And so where can AI actually automate those processes, not just for us, but for our learners? Because every step in a learner journey is a potential barrier for a learner. And so how many students do we never see because they didn't get past the application process? How many learners do we never see because of financial aid? And let's talk about financial aid. If we could use AI to transform that financial aid process, how life-changing would that be for how many adults that we don't even know, adults or other learners, that we don't even know want to be able to work with us and can't right now? And so when we think about AI, a humongous transformative effect is that back office, that process, that what does the journey look like for the learner who's trying to navigate these complicated systems, and where can AI streamline that for our learners so that way they can more effectively even get to us in the first place. I'll stop there because I have colleagues who have lots of great things to add to it, but those are just the kind of the big ways that I'm seeing right now where there's potential transformations happening.
Thank you, Greg. And just before that, I think Greg's trying to hit a goal of 100,000 followers on LinkedIn. So anyone who's not a follower, hit that now.
The competition is on. Please follow me first. Mara Woody.
Thanks. And glad to be here with you today. I'm Greg Fowler. I'm the president of the University of Maryland Global Campus. And I think for me to answer this question, it may help a little to know a little bit about the University of Maryland Global Campus, because a lot of the work we are doing is being accelerated by what we're seeing with the work that's coming out of AI. Back at the end of World War II, the U.S. was trying to figure out what are we going to do with all these hundreds of thousands of learners who should be coming back home, but they are not traditional students. We want them to be able to get their degrees. And of course, in 1945-46, it became clear that actually we're going to have quite a lot of students who are going to be stuck overseas, a lot of service members who are going to be stuck overseas, working in various places. So then the U.S. government asked, would there be any institution who'd be willing to go overseas and figure out how to help those learners as they were trying to move forward? And of course, the questions came fast and furious for a lot of different people: where our class is going to be, where our office is going to be, what's the structure around these types of things. And to those things, the federal government had no answers at the time. And only one university ended up saying, we'll go try this out. And it was the University of Maryland. Now, the part of that has become the University of Maryland Global Campus. I say that because from the beginning, our story has been all about how do you reach the students who otherwise wouldn't be reached or otherwise might not have options on the table. And since then, the University of Maryland Global Campus has gone to all 7 continents in the last almost 80 years. We've served, yes, even in Antarctica, trying to figure out in active battle zones, in deserts, and beaches, and jungles. Wherever the service members have gone, we have tried to go there with them and figure out how do we provide access, how do we provide affordability, and how do we make sure that we reach these students who otherwise might not have an option for what they are trying to do. Even today, right now, we are at 185 locations in 25 countries around the world, trying to make sure that we are reaching those various types of learners. AI helps us do that at scale. So we have about, as I said, about 100,000 learners last year. And in many different ways, you're going to find people with all different types of scenarios. You're going to find spouses, you're going to find service members, veterans, and at the same time, you're also going to find here in this country people who are coming out of community colleges. So we're a national university, about 100 locations here throughout the country. And again, how do you reach each and every one of those learners? How do you personalize using AI the stories that they have? As you've heard over and over again, the reason that most students don't complete college has very little to do with the curriculum. It has to do with life happens. But life happens in many different ways to people. And having tools that allow us to personalize that is a critical piece of being able to say, wherever you are, whatever the situation is, if we can build on what we know about you, on what motivates you, on what your struggles are, if we can figure out what are the ways that you learn best, then we are able to create new opportunities for you as you're trying to move forward. On the faculty side of that, it's able to help us scale and help those faculty members be where they need to be because they can't be everywhere. So who are the students who really need you? What are the ways that they need to be engaged with? These are sort of the critical questions that we are trying to ask as we continue to move forward. Certainly, we have the issues of efficiency and effectiveness as we're talking about these types of things. We're certainly talking about how do you, on a regular basis, look at transcript evaluation, look at financial aid processing, look at the various other things that happen in an administration at scale so that we make sure every student gets every credit they deserve if they're transferring in, or that we know everything we can about the various ways they're succeeding as they're trying to move forward. So all of these are part of that conversation we are having and trying to figure out how AI will help us both on the student and learner side and on the faculty administration side moving forward.
Thank you. Karen?
Thank you. Karen Vignari. I'm currently serving as a vice president at the Association of Public and Land-Grant Universities, and my role is digital transformation for student success. First of all, I want to thank all of you for being here these last couple of days. You deserve a lot of praise for being interested in student success because this work is important, and I think Complete College America is entirely a wonderful community for you to continue to work through the opportunities to leverage technology. So one of the reasons that I think we have to really think about the use of AI, and my colleagues have already given some examples, but I'm going to double down on the fact that we haven't been successful as an industry. And this is often hard because those of you that are in the audience are the successful people. So as an industry, we have failed more students in the last 20 years, failed out of our system than we have graduated. That is not a good industry. We can do better, and I think we need to leverage technology to be much more effective, and it's for them. That change, using that technology to help us enhance and help us do things we weren't able to do, is not going to be easy. It's going to take effort, and I would suggest all of you begin to think about what is it you can do. Even that fun prompt that T3 brought to us, that's an opportunity at a regular department meeting. Think about the problem you're solving in those department meetings. How do you begin to collectively and collaboratively use AI to think about your problems and opportunities very differently? It is really important that you begin to be the face of AI at your universities in order to expand the kind of reach and effectiveness that we all can have as those student success people. We need to think very broadly about how to help the rest of our colleagues be who you are. You came to this meeting. You want to improve student success. We have to make it easier for the rest of our colleagues to improve student success. And I think you need a hand, and that hand is going to come through AI. And I think there's a lot of work out there already happening that is open source, that is available. I would encourage you, talk to others. Now is the opportunity to share. What are you trying? Just give the low-hanging fruit an opportunity. I think there are going to be great transformation with the kinds of colleges that Dr. Fowler is leading, but we can also make a difference at our own institution, helping others. And I'm really excited about how this kind of technology will enhance us all to do much better in student success.
Stephanie?
Well, thank you all for being here as well, and it's wonderful to hear the remarks on the panel so far. It's almost as if we have shared missions with different seats around the table trying to solve the common problems we all face. So I'm Stephanie Krana, I'm CEO of Axum Collaborative, and we invest in partnerships that help every student have the educational opportunities that they need to thrive in a changing economy. And we know that clear and seamless pathways from education to opportunity are what we're all striving for, but as we've heard, so many students are facing barriers along that pathway. And what we do is develop partnerships and fund them so that you can make those connections to overcome the barriers that students face. And once you have innovations that might be technology, might be practice, might be data, it's probably a combination of all of them, that we can then figure out how to scale them so that we know what works and then can share them with others. And, I mean, this is a moment. I mean, AI is sort of a moment that has come in that has required us to sit up and think about what's this pace of change and what does it mean? And when I think about my own personal journey, if I go back, over 30 years ago, it kind of feels a little bit like when the internet first came out. And we were like, wow, this is kind of exciting. Like, what is this and what does it mean? And there was a time when we thought, boy, this will be great for everyone. But as 30 years went by, there's still 18 million households without access to meaningful internet. And that affects their ability to engage in things like education and participating in the economy. And what we want to do is make sure that digital divide doesn't happen again, because we're able to work together and work at a pace that makes sense for learners and also for their families and our communities and our economy. So that's what motivates us. And when I think about the things that I've seen working, and we start that clear and seamless pathway and imagine what that might look like for students, it does start in high school and asking questions about, well, what does financial aid look like? And we have partners here in the room that are doing just that and looking at how do we make sure there's financial aid awareness that something is affordable. If a student has 4,000 different options to look at when they're trying to make that choice of post-secondary, how can we use AI to then build bridges between K through 12 and whatever post-secondary program is right for that student? And then in the classroom, we've seen lots of really interesting ways where you can use type of tutors and prompts and how you might share that with perhaps a well-resourced institution. We have some partnerships, for example, with MIT, Georgia State, and Quinnipiac Community College. Let's share what those learnings are, make it better for everyone, knowing that the use case might be slightly different. But I think most students are up at 2 a.m. looking for a tutor. So I do think that's in common, all for different reasons. Sometimes it's children and work, and sometimes it's because we work different hours. And then another, just kind of going down this thread of what's happening in the classroom, what are the outside the classroom supports, and how do we think about using the right types of ways to track what information students need to get the resources to help them persist through those tough times. And then connected to career, there's lots of different jobs out there and lots of different career pathways. How do we think about where AI can help align curriculum with what's needed in the workforce, and then make that a much more dynamic relationship, especially with our small and mid-sized businesses who do want incredible talent, and we have the talent that we can help make sure is there. But it takes partnership, it takes the ability to co-create these more seamless pathways, and it requires digital innovation and then smart use of AI, where we're not forgetting it's the human relationships that are really the anchor of an educational experience.
Norm?
Thank you. My name is Norman Palmer, Director of Tech Innovation at Complete College America. Been here for about 5 weeks. It's been a wonderful experience, I would say, to this point. And as I'm learning more about the organization and the institutions that we serve, this is a prime opportunity to really learn about not just the technology, but the implications that it's going to have on our learners over time. One of the areas that I think that all of us need to really look at and consider very deeply is epistemic agency and how students are learning today, because they're just different. I have a 22-year-old, and I'm learning so much in my engagement with him on a day-to-day basis. And I see the work that we are doing here at CCA, how it just translates directly to ensure that our learners get to the finish line and have an understanding that they will have a future and that AI is not going to squash it, but it's going to amplify what they're learning now. So I wanted to mention about our new website that we have that is recently put up over the last few weeks, and all of the information that we're providing regarding AI, the AI Council, and all the supporting documents that we've have provided up to this date. But moving forward, our goal and our intention is to continue to provide resources to institutions that critically need this information. Another area that we're looking at providing some really good detail on is interpretability, mechanistic interpretability, and its impacts on what LLMs, how they engage with our students, what impacts it has on their learning, and how it drives towards college completion for our learners. I think that's a very, very important area that we need to put some amplification on as we're doing our research and as we're working with our institutions. The other thing I wanted to also mention is that this is a time where we want to partner. We want to partner with private industry to make sure that we're at the ground floor of the new technologies that are coming as the advancement and the change in the technology is occurring, because as we know, Moore's law is applied here as it comes to compute, and with more compute, we're finding much faster and much more dynamic capabilities that are coming with artificial intelligence. So we're going to be partnering more with industry and with the institutions that we service in this process. I'm excited to be here.
So something I just want to add, we all hit on this in a different way, but I want to make sure that we really reiterate this point. What AI can do is allow us to lean into being more human and building more human connection. And we are working with learners today who may have been profoundly shaped by what COVID did in those years in their development. And so they are craving and needing that human connection. And so what can we do to create an experience for our learners where we can be present for them when they need us, because the mundane is being taken care of for all of us. And so just really hitting home that there's that responsibility there, that we all can now be better at connecting with each other because we have a technology that allows us the space for that.
So talking about technology, each time we have a large disruption by technology, whether it is calculators, it's the internet, or now AI, we've changed the way in which we have been able to deliver information or deliver knowledge. AI, however, changes it even further. It goes to the crux of the problem of what is knowledge and how do we use it. So Stephanie, I'd like to start with you. What are the lessons that we've learned that we should be applying as we go forward, as we start to use AI in the right way towards a completion agenda? What are the lessons that we've learned from the past and even with our work with AI in terms of transformation and change? We have impatient reformers in this room. What should they be looking for?
Well, when you look at the past and you think about what's important to shaping the future, and then with education at the center here, I think the first is start at what is our role as educators, and we often are thinking about how are we shaping our students' ability to think, their ability to learn, and their ability to then have sort of the durable skills to be effective in a work setting. And I think we have to hold that very dear and know that as AI might be taking pieces of that, and people might be outsourcing their thinking to an LLM and a prompt. How do we think about that as educators to make sure that is preserved? And then we think about what's the role of our other partners that are really important. And I do think employers is one of them. And I also think it's again, the connection back into the post-secondary. And what's the seat at the table they have to be able to shape the future as well? And I think it's going to be different than in the past, because we've always held that educator responsibility very dear, and to think about what does that mean to pull in more partners and then to figure out what are the objectives you're trying to do. So there's a lot more co-creation, I think, that's going on. And that doesn't necessarily always work with profit motives. And so we've got an industry that has very big profit motives and is moving at a much bigger pace and much faster than ever. And if we don't insert ourselves in the right place with the right partners and anchor on student success, anchor on the learning, then we really will not be doing our students a good service. And in fact, we could even be worse than we are. Yeah. Now, what gives me hope is actually, Norman, what you said is, I look to my kids, or I look to students, and I actually will often find answers that I never would have thought of and realize I didn't even ask the right question. And so what gives me hope is that if we can embrace this next generation and have them help drive along with us, that I think we're going to be shaping the future that we want to see, and I think that the sector has been waiting for in terms of a transformation. So again, now is time to co-create, to come together, not lose sight of what's important, and where we can actually find sources of innovation and entrepreneurship, which I think are on the cusp of the horizon.
So, Greg, you lead an institution that has transformed itself a number of times. Mm-hmm. It's based on the population that it serves, but with new technology each time. You've entered into partnerships. You work with a number of different universities across the nation and across the world. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about where you see this from the perspective of the past going into the future?
So 3 C's come to mind when you ask that question: courageous, compassionate, curiosity. And I say that because the conversations we have to have require all 3 of those things. And we have to have the ability and the willingness and the courage to ask the questions and to venture forth into new territory. It doesn't matter whether you like it, it's still going to be here. And we can't ignore that fact. And at the same time, we have to recognize that this will disrupt the lives of many people, and we have to think about that with compassion. How do we engage in that with those types of conversations? And then ultimately be willing to ask the questions with a certain amount of focused discipline. An old friend and colleague, Michael Horn, who also is a former protege of Clayton Christensen, used to still ask a single question that I think is probably the most important question of all. What's the job to be done? Yeah. What's the job to be done? And we are asking that question both with our colleagues and our partners and other colleges around the country over and over again in so many different ways. If AI is going to be in the classroom, what is the job to be done for the faculty? What is the job to be done for learning resources? I am a believer that in 5 to 7 years, Pearson and McGraw-Hill and these other companies that are textbook companies are going to have to totally rethink what they are doing if they are to survive at all. If there's going to be access to information, what is that job to be done? And it can't simply be, this is the way it's always been done in the past, or we do it that way because that's what we knew from someone else. It's got to be an intentionality that I don't think a lot of people are willing to have the conversation about. When you look at other industries, it's not like Kodak didn't know about digital photography. It's not like Blockbuster didn't know about the potential of what was coming out of Netflix, what became Netflix. Over and over throughout history, we see these various opportunities that somehow get ignored, or we say this is not going to happen to us. Bill Gates says that, and I think he's right, most technologies underperform in the short term and overperform in the long. And I think that's going to be the case. So I don't think it's going to be that tomorrow AI is going to replace everybody's job. But if you can actually sense where things are going, if you can actually, do the Wayne Gretzky, know where the puck's going ultimately, then you can win. Mm-hmm. And so when we're talking to our colleagues and our friends at other schools, what we're talking about is, what are we learning from each other. If you're talking about these things at scale, and you do have students in all 50 states, and they have many different backgrounds, how do we engage with that as we're trying to move forward? But it only happens if I go back to the 3 things I started with. Do you have the courage to, look in the mirror and see what you see? I'm a movie buff, and everybody in this room who knows me knows that I refer to movies all the time. The movie Never Ending Story. There's this scene in there where the hero Atreyu, the second task he has to do is look in the mirror and be honest about what he's seeing. And trying to figure out, are we really looking at what we know and what's possible is going to be one of the biggest challenges for us, because we see these things happening already, and so we've got to be willing to dive into them. Think about where Amazon started. They were a book delivery company, and where they are now. And that's been within our lifetime. Imagine what this is going to happen as this exponentially continues to increase. So these are the 3 things I go back to that I think we all need to be trying to embrace as we're trying to move forward, those 3 C's that I referred to.
So Karen, as we move from one institution to a group of institutions through AppLoo, what do you think we need to be looking for in terms of lessons learned and then going forward as we try to transform the way that education impacts all learners everywhere?
So there's really 2 approaches I think that are going to be important. Having a place like CCA and APLU are going to be important. We need more sharing amongst institutions, and that sharing, again, going back to AI, I haven't solved this yet, but we have to think about translation, because many of us are doing work in a certain area and AI could easily translate into another area. So I think there's an opportunity within our organizations to really think about use cases, and Stephanie was already talking about that. Use cases that are working somewhere, but we have to change the context for another set of students. And I do believe, while we saw some great people trying to code in their AI prompts, we can do that, and it doesn't have to be live time in front of an audience, right? And honestly, we could be hard-coded, because that was probably part of the problem, is they were on Wi-Fi. So I think it's really important to find the use cases that are working and put them into your context. I think those are a huge opportunity, and working within organizations like CCA and APLU, that's the work that I'm trying to support so that we can have a lot more sharing. The other thing is the big problems, right? So this is the second approach, and I'll just share one, right? Right now, I am so excited about the work that we might be able to do with changing transfer and making sure transfer credits are much more equitably awarded to students, or using, if we agree that this course can only transfer 70% of the learning, why can't we teach the 30% in a different way than penalizing the student to take the course over again? Right? We have to think about what are the big problems, and for us in 4-year institutions, having a much better relationship with our 2-year institutions on how to improve that transfer process. This won't be true for UMGC, but we know students who tell us they wait 6 months to know whether or not their credits are going to transfer. That's abysmal. There's another incredibly poor stat that I'm going to share, and that came out of Just Equations earlier this year. If the community college students said that they wanted a STEM degree, and this is based on 2016 cohort data from California, and do not think if you're not in California, this also isn't happening to you, that you wanted a STEM degree, 6 years later, because that's when we look at the graduation cohort, only 2% of those students could get that STEM degree, and most of that was because of transfer credits not transferring. And this is an important, big problem that we have for our students, and I think collectively, if we put the will together to solve a problem, that's another approach. Organizations are going to be important for cross-sharing, but there's also what are the big problems for the student, not necessarily for, quote unquote, my institution. So I challenge all of us in this room to think more than our institution, to think what are those big problems for our students, and to work collectively. Seek out other people and find out what's happening so that we can actually solve this problem much faster. And in 5 years, I can stop saying that 2%, okay? Help me.
So one of the promises that comes with AI is that of scale. And Samara, I'd like to start with you, if you don't mind, and I'd ask the rest of the panelists to jump in. From your perspective, you have a unique platform, one that links students to the workforce, to the experiential learning that they need before they actually go out. What are the resources that we need? What is the scaling issue that we need to consider? And how do we go forward when we're using AI?
So I do want to frame that around, first off, what is the job to be done, as Greg has said earlier. What is the job to be done in higher education? It's not just to prepare learners to navigate a complex world. It's to prepare individuals to architect the tomorrow that we all want to live in. And AI is in that tomorrow. And we all, us and our learners, all need to be prepared to be part of that. And so the way that we come into supporting higher education as a partner, and not only doing the work and scaling the work, is we support education. We support education's goals. We do not define it. And so when we partner with our institutions, it's what are your goals? What are you working toward? What do you want to be able to achieve? And then we are able to help with the technology to be able to scale that more widely. What we learn over and over and over is technology helps, but it doesn't replace human connection. AI helps, but it will never replace human connection. And what it takes to do programs really, really well is human connection. And we understand that in many of our institutions, individuals are working off the 17th corner of their desk, putting out the 2000th fire for that day, trying to make these programs work and support their learners at the same time. So how can we in technology not just provide the technology, but how do we also support with the human need of being able to build and scale these programs? And none of it is easy. But what we've learned over and over and over is technology helps scale, but it always starts with that human connection and that involvement and engagement with the community and with the colleges that we work with to be able to then build from that and take that learning and be able to scale it more widely. And I think I'll stop there because I'm really interested in hearing other folks. As we in technology have learned, it really is about the human connection piece. Technology helps. I really want to be able to hear the thoughts from others also on that interplay of sometimes we buy a technology not knowing the problem we're solving for. We get mad when the technology didn't fix the problem we didn't know we were solving for, but we never accounted for what we could actually do and where we fit into that. We thought the technology would fit it, and we skipped over the humaning part. And so that humaning part is the really, really actually critical piece to be able to do anything else well.
So Norm, I'd like to ask you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
From your perspective and the diverse background that you bring with all the other jobs you've had before you come here,
Yes.
and you all should talk to Norm about what he's done. It's amazing. Thank you. What do you think are the issues that we need to look at in terms of resources and scale?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Vistap. First of all, I think we have to get out of the notion of fear. A lot of our organizations and institutions, we're getting in our own way in some regard because we're afraid of using the technology and what we think the technology is going to do to us. We're in control of the technology, right? We control the rate of adoption. We control how the technology is going to be ingested, utilized, and leveraged. I think that it's also important as we look at the technology that we are working to take a look at, as Mara stated, looking at the problem, right? And building for purpose and utilizing and leveraging the capabilities of artificial intelligence to address those specific problems. Now, because we historically, if you look at the development of artificial intelligence, we've gone through 3 phases. We've gone through the phase of machine learning, deep learning, and today we're in the era of transformers. And when we're looking at the capability of agentic AI and its power, and we still haven't fully utilized it because we haven't put a strong template of design thinking over our solutioning. So I think that if we take a more systematic approach as institutions and looking at fit for purpose and ensuring that we are solving the critical needs that need to be addressed up front first, I think we'll have a greater rate of adoption, and we'll also feel a little bit better about its integration. We won't be so scared in its adoption. But the technology is very powerful. The opportunity exists, and the human connection is essential. The partnering, the collaborations are essential. The open source capability of this tool is something that needs to continue, in my estimation, to be further fostered. I'm afraid that that's something that we're not seeing as much because of the level of competition, but I think that it's essential that education work with the big seven and more that are actually performing this work and getting into the conversation in a meaningful way and kind of guiding how we need to address this as fit for purpose for our institutions.
I would want to add, though, I think one of the things we have to learn from the past is implementation matters. And quite frankly, we do have good tools, and there are good AI tools, and we don't always use them. And I do love my two colleagues here talking about the human connection. As humans, being able to look in that mirror for change and thinking about how we actually implement and leverage a tool to help us do things differently. Implementation science is a field, and my experience over, somebody said 30 years, I'm like even longer than that, has been that when we see success, it's because they've really paid attention to the implementation process, and they've learned from that. Doesn't mean that everything went well the first time. We have to be able to iterate. We have to be able to improve. And I think many of our institutions have lacked somewhat of a responsibility around interrogating, did we do this effectively? Could we learn from somebody else? So I want to encourage us to certainly be involved with the technology and certainly to be human-centered about it, but let's also learn from our past mistakes that sometimes we didn't implement the technology well.
Stephanie, before I get to you, if you don't mind, I just want to remind the audience, we will have questions. So after Stephanie has a chance to talk about her experience, and she's done a tremendous amount in the area of digital innovation, using research and then evidence-based the results to lead into that. I'll ask the audience, if you have questions, start lining up before the mics. We'll have about 5 to 7 minutes to ask your questions, and then we'll go to the sort of the end remarks from all our panelists.
Great.
Sorry, Stephanie.
No, thank you. I was going to pick up on when Karen is saying, like, in what moment are we in? And we are still in the very early days of what AI is going to mean. And being able to do that type of massive innovation work in highly resource-constrained environments is very hard, yet it couldn't be more important. And while we're trying to figure out how we're implementing what we see today, it's kind of the equivalent of Greg's example of like Mike Bezos came in with a bag of books into a seminar 30 years ago and said, I'm going to put this on the internet. And you're like, okay, let's see if that's going to happen. And it reminds me of a photo I sometimes put up where there's like a steam engine when, you know, all of a sudden we started having steam to power what became railroads, and then they had horse and buggies still on the track because they hadn't quite innovated on like getting train cars, and you were still thinking the horse was in front instead of the steam engine. And I think that's kind of where we are. So we haven't yet imagined what yet is going to be, but we still have to embrace it and think about ways to innovate where we're starting to blur and blend things. So, and while we want to have good implementation, we don't just want to automate what we have today, we actually want to imagine, what if we blended academic and career information to the student at the same time? But what that would mean, we might have to put our two departments together. We wouldn't do that, right? And so something that might feel like a hard change today, actually removing those barriers and silos and thinking about what it could be, because I think the sky's the limit of how we can actually transform our systems. And then just to close on the research and innovation point, making sure that whatever focused problem we're solving, how do we know there's at least some early evidence? How do we get a learning agenda, measure, and have outcomes? And that's often a shortfall in technology. We get the adoption, the enrollment, the eyeballs, and not what mattered for persistence, completion, economic mobility in our world. And how do you embed that into your technology and systems to know so that you can quickly pivot when things aren't working? And that's very core to the work we like to do, is to make sure that capacity is there, the data technology research is there, so that we can then inform the field so that we can all be on the same path that works for students.
Fabulous. Let's now move to the audience. Do you have any questions for us?
Oh, there you are.
Please. So please introduce yourself and then ask the question.
Hi, my name's Lily Crawford. I am a bit of an AI skeptic, and something that I worry about, particularly in education, while recognizing the amazing capabilities that AI has for college education and the capabilities that it has in the classroom, I worry that AI will automate certain entry-level jobs and get rid of certain entry-level jobs for our students. I'm worried about post-graduation attainment and ROI. So how do we prepare our students for the future where these entry-level jobs might not exist for them to get that experience that they need? Why would a certain company have interns and pay interns when they can have those tasks being done by an AI machine? And how do we prepare our students for that? And
So
Mara, I think it's right up your alley.
Right, yeah, I actually just presented on this yesterday. My personal theory in looking through the data and seeing what's happening right now in the job market, the intermediate skills of today are going to be the entry-level skills of tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it is really important that through that educational journey of our learners, we're giving them the opportunity to master what are today's entry-level skills, so they are prepared with those intermediate level skills today that will be the demand for tomorrow. And there are lots of ways that we already do that, and we can continue to formalize that. But a lot of that is giving students the opportunity to apply what they're learning in that experience, to work with employers through projects, internships, other experiential learning opportunities, and then to have them intentionally and thoughtfully reflect upon what they're learning, the skills they're developing, how that's supporting their educational journey, and to have that with their faculty, who very honestly are the reason they have come to college is for connection with faculty. And to be able to do that under the guidance, assessment, and support of faculty is a really critical function of the learning experience. And so I think what a lot of it actually is taking what we're already doing in the classroom and giving the students more opportunities to apply it and intentionally think about that application and what they're developing.
Greg, would you like to add?
Yes, I think that one of the things that is at the core of the conversation that the nation's having around is higher education worth it, is the conversation on what are you measuring and how are you measuring it, and can people really do what they say that we can do? And one of the big challenges that I think we've got to face is in a world where, as we can see, AI and other tools can already write papers and answer multiple choice questions, we've got to rethink how we assess. We've got to rethink how we evaluate and how students are able to demonstrate the skills that we are talking about. So if everybody can't do an apprenticeship or an internship physically, can we do more complex immersive simulations and other things that are real world scenarios that are complex and actually document the skills that they're going to have as they're moving forward? Because we have leaned too long on the idea a person can write a paper about everything, or that they can answer a multiple choice question, and that is, I'm gonna use this phrase, deep learning for human beings. So I think we've got to reimagine, again, going back to that idea of jobs to be done, that whole scenario around which we actually do the work of assessment and move forward with ascertaining for businesses and for students that when you walk out this door, you're going to walk into a world that's going to be familiar to you because we've already been immersing you in that in some form already.
Yep.
Stephanie?
There's a research paper that came out of MIT that talked about these entry-level jobs that look like they might be disappearing. And there's another interpretation of that, is that young students today are actually going into entrepreneurship. to shape things. So it looked like the young people were the ones not getting the job, but it was the same job as other people, so it'd be strange if it were just the young people not persisting. And so I think this explanation of maybe we think about entrepreneurship and what does it mean to actually create or start something, and that might shift, curriculums or ways to think about things, but I do think that is something to consider in terms of what role AI can play in our young students and how we educate them.
We're going to move to the last section of this session, if you don't mind. AI could go in a variety of different ways. But let's get back to the agenda that we have on the table today, which is degree completion with the goal of socioeconomic ability. So what I'd like to do is ask each of the panelists, we have about 6 minutes left. We have 6 of you. So about a minute each.
Mara.
Your future vision. What is AI going to be able to do for us? We've already done a lot. We've seen some of the barriers. We've seen some of the lessons learned. Where do you think we will be when we get together next year for the convening, and when we get together 5 years from now? In your vision of AI and the future of degree completion for socioeconomic mobility, and I want to stretch those two together and link them. Where do you think we will be? And let's start with Norm and end with Mara.
Okay, we'll make this quick. I see AI as being a companion in the near term to our students. The large learning models, they learn you over the course of time, how you interact with them. And I think there's going to be an amplification of capability between machine and the student that will help to drive them to academic success. And how that ties together with economic opportunity is that these are going to be fundamental and foundational skills. We're already beginning to see it in the workplace. Those questions are coming up from employers. And it's just going to be foundational in the not too distant future as a pathway for opportunity.
So I see AI as helping to enable kind of this pathway, but it's only going to happen through co-creation, and it's only going to happen through compassion. And so I hope in the next few years we see a lot more innovation of new ways to have all different kinds of learning in the classroom, outside the classroom, hybrid, online, connected to workforce. And I'd like to see examples of all of that where AI is the enabler, but that as humans, we can tell that we're flourishing. The folks that otherwise needed a little bit more of a floor, there's evidence it provides a floor to help lift people up, and that students are better able to produce higher quality outcomes, and faculty are able to teach at yet another level, that everybody is lifted up.
I'm going to go back to something I've already said, and I think we've set up too many institutional barriers and inefficiencies. And to me, that's a big problem around transfer. And there's several new tools out there that I would encourage you. APLU is involved with AACC looking at Attain, which is an AI tool that can sit on top of your systems to look at your course equivalencies. We have too many students who simply stop because they are not getting the transfer credit that they deserve. And I think that is a very solvable challenge within the next 5 years. And I encourage us to think about the institutional barriers that we put up. And I think we can use AI much more effectively to lower those barriers. Our students don't always speak, quote unquote, the federal or state bureaucratic terminology we're forced to use. And we need to get better at a language they understand, and how important it is to continue. The student from Frostburg, by the way, Frostburg was also where I got my undergraduate degree. So super excited to see somebody from Frostburg. We need to help the students who are coming out of these great community colleges move forward to colleges like Greg's. We can do that. We have to change our institutional barriers, and AI can help us do that. So I would really look internally, where are we presenting the barriers to our students, and let's see how we can use AI to do that.
I certainly think about the efficiency piece, but I think there is a coming conversation on what it means to be human. And I was listening to a CNN report this week of a pop song or a country song that's now on the chart that was actually created by AI. And I don't remember the song, but I do remember but it's actually not created by a human, not a human being singing it. For the video, they rented human beings, or not rented, they paid human beings. I'm an English major, and all of this conversation about technology does come back to, again, that idea of jobs to be done, but what does it mean to be human is a conversation we are going to have and reflect on, and where's the value that cannot be replaced there is something that is inevitable at some point if we're looking in that mirror, like I just said a minute ago. So I don't know if that's going to be next year or the year after, or 5 or 10 years down the road, but at some point that conversation, for all of the science fiction and science fantasy lovers out there, this is exactly what those books are trying to really get at, is that conversation. So I think that's a conversation that will be inevitable at some point.
Ditto.
Actually, we had a bet who would say that first.
Right.
And she
I
did.
won the bet. Yes. Competition is fierce here.
I owe her coffee.
What I'm actually going to say is probably the most boring thing of all, more boring than infrastructure, is transformation is what we make it, but we have to understand what it can be, which means we need to study this, we need to evaluate this, we need to rigorously interrogate this, which is what we do really well in education. So that way we can understand what the effects and the outcomes are and how we can most use this to create the transformation we want. And so centering on everything that we do takes understanding, data, evidence, evaluation for us to be able to do those things really effectively.
Thank you to our incredible panelists. What strikes me about this conversation is bringing together what we've witnessed over the past few years. It's no longer a question of if, it's a question of how, and how we keep our students at the center of what we're trying to do, serving that mission that we have for learners to actually gain from knowledge. So before I close, I'd like to thank Complete College America for bringing us together for this critical conversation, and for their leadership in reminding us all the time, it's not the institution, it's not the administrator, it's not the faculty member, it's the student that drives where we go. So what's next for CCA, Dr. Elston?
First of all, can we please give our panelists a round of applause as they exit the stage? Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Typically, when we're closing out the annual convening, we do a little bit of a recap of what happened. As opposed to me kind of going through a litany of all the things that have happened, I'll just ask our AV team to tee up a quick recap, and you can just take a look at the screens. Please give yourselves a round of applause. On behalf of our president, Dr. Yolanda Watson-Spiva, the board of directors of Complete College America, our amazing staff, and all the members of the Alliance, just want to say thank you for joining us at the annual convening next. Just a couple of very quick housekeeping items. I know that many of you are planning to depart. Some of you are staying around, or your flights might not be till a little later on. But if you need to store your luggage, of course, you can do that downstairs at the Bell Station. Just a quick note of thanks to a few individuals. Our AV team in the back, Encore, please give them a round of applause. Our event planning team, Hawk Behavior, they are probably running around, but they've done some excellent work in preparing for us to be here. And I do not want to miss some very important individuals. They're always behind the scenes, but the maintenance staff, the cleaning staff, all the individuals who make sure that the rooms are beautiful every time that we come in. And I would be remiss if I just didn't acknowledge the Complete College America team. Sometimes people don't realize that an event like this takes a lot of things to happen right for it to be actualized in this kind of way. And we don't have an in-house event team, and so literally everybody takes a role in making sure that the annual convening is exceptional, and I hope you saw that their work did something very powerful while we're here. Also want to, yes, please, thank you. Also just want to say again, thank you to the City of Baltimore, as well as the Maryland team, the Maryland Higher Education team and group, Governor Moore, all the individuals that were on the host committee. There were a lot of people that made sure folks in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area were able to attend and participate. So thank you to all of you as well. Thank you. And so a couple of very quick things as we kind of wrap up. At the very beginning of the annual convening, we talked about sharing this information, what you learned with other individuals. It is not too late. Get home, or while you're waiting in the airport, or while you're driving home. Well, actually, not while you're driving, because I don't want you to text and drive. However, we do want you to share any learnings, share any pictures that you took. All of the CCA pictures will be posted on our Facebook page. If you can, use the hashtag CCA Next 2025. We want to make sure that other individuals who weren't able to make it into the room hear what you're doing, are able to make connections through this work. And I think this enables me to kind of jump into a couple of things. One is the big announcement. So people always want to know, where are we going to be next? And so I think Baltimore was a lovely location. Next year, we're going to be a little bit sunnier and warmer, and we hope that you will join us from December 1st to the 3rd at the annual convening in San Diego, California. Like, I already see some people nodding their heads like, okay, I'm making a long weekend out of that. You will hear details about that in short order. A couple other things. Let's see. Oh, okay, in the spirit of Oprah, for those of you who stayed around, under a couple of seats, there are a sticker or a prize, so check under your seat real quick. Tell me if you find one, and if there's an empty seat next to you. Yolanda, you found one? That looks like a name tag to me. You know what I'm saying? That is not a sticker. Who put a picture under Yolanda's table? She's good.
Thank you. So I will donate my prize. So let me see who in the audience works with students and would benefit from having our board game. It would be so great for you to work with your team. Okay, I see somebody. I think you asked a question yesterday, didn't you? Perfect. I'm going to give it to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so other thing, on your tables is a postcard that is in front of you. Remember when you were back in in elementary school, and they said write a letter to yourself when you graduated from high school? Well, this is something in that same spirit. And so if you look on that postcard, it asks, first it says next starts now, and it asks for a bold move that you'll make in the next week, in the next 90 days, and in the next 6 months. The 6 months is a great marker because that should put us right around graduation time. And so what we'd love for you to do, and this is real old school because some people don't even know how to use handwriting anymore. However, we would love for you to add your couple of moves in that you're planning to make, include your name and your address, and we will send this to you in a few months just as a reminder of the things that you committed to. All right, so all you have to do is write those things out. You could do them right now, and then you can leave it right on the table and someone from CCA will pick you up and will pick it up for you. Just as a reminder for those who haven't sent a postcard in a long time, there is a space for a stamp. We will handle that for you, so don't write over that little square in the upper right-hand corner. And while you're doing that, just a couple of things that are here. We want to continue to stay engaged and have you participate in all the CCA activities. If you're here, you're probably already getting access to our website and all the other things that are going on. We have a very new website, so I don't know if you saw it scrolling across the screen, but the CCA, the CompleteCollege.org website has been revamped, and so a number of people in the Alliance have said, I'd like to find this easier, or it'd be helpful if I could know a little bit more about your strategies. You will be very pleased. It's mobile enabled. Please go to CompleteCollege.org, take a look at it. Let us know if you have any feedback or there's something that you're looking for. We're happy to make sure that you get all the things you need to continue amplifying the student success needs of your campuses, your states, and your systems. So other things that are happening. At the beginning of December, we'll have a quick kind of recap meeting around the annual convening, around different things that you can be involved in, different types of funded projects. So please share that with other individuals who attended or were not able to attend. We will continue to have a number of big events and regional events that are closer to you, where your team members and institutional members can participate, things like data days. The past few years, we've been doing CCA Day on the Hill, where you can meet with legislators. There'll be a number of regional and virtual events, webcasts, podcasts, et cetera. And if you're doing something really exceptional, let us know. We want to be able to amplify you, share those things that you're doing, put you on a main stage, and let individuals know this is how you replicate and this is how you scale. CCA University, you will continue to hear more about CCA University in the next few months. The biggest takeaway that we got from the pandemic was that staff members, practitioners said, I came to your event, it was amazing, but I couldn't bring my whole team. And so what we're building out is a portal that has a number of resources and trainings that will help you align with the student success agenda, that will enable individuals who are across your campuses and your states to be able to learn in a synchronous and asynchronous manner. And then, of course, the CCA team. We've got some amazing individuals who manage regions and strategies. Connect with them. Let them know what you're doing. Find out questions. They are happy to connect you with individuals across this country who are doing very serious and important work. And I think the last thing that I want to kind of just do in kind of bringing this to a close is recognizing that the thing that was most impactful for me were the students that were part of this conversation. I think about the things that were said by Sierra, where she talked about education having the potential to break cycles. Or Jadison mentioned that one of his family members told him, get an education because it's the only thing that they cannot take away from you. And then I think about Mililani saying, all I ask of you is to try to help one student. That one student multiplies to 10 students, to 100 students, to thousands of students, and that's how we change our country. This work for us has always been more than a mission, a larger mission and a larger name or a brand or a convening. When we say Complete College America, our president, Dr. Yolanda Watson-Spiva, says it's a clarion call. And even while we've been here over the past couple of days, there's been some news that has started to kind of bubble up and surface in national media around the state of education. Those headwinds will continue. And that's why we need you to continue doing the important work that you do. So what we tell you, what we ask you, what we implore you, and what we're in partnership with you on is to ensure that our country thinks about certificates, apprenticeships, 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees, reskilling, upskilling. What we want our country to do is complete college America. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Safe travels home.